Hey, welcome back, welcome back to me, man. I've been on the road and I have been producing some plays, some exciting shows coming up for you. I'm so glad to be back for this latest edition of Let's Chew the Gum, the podcast where we talk about everything from A to Z. I have an exciting guest and a very interesting show for you for Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to all of you. Thanks for your service. I have a veteran that's coming on today, a veteran in the military and also a veteran in the filmmaking industry. He does it all. This is Let's Chew the Gum. This is Let's Chew the Gum. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Let's Chew the Gum. I'm your host, Dr. K. Each time you tune in to Let's Chew the Gum, you can be sure of one thing. We always have
something for your mind. Something for your mind. Something for your mind.
정신을 집어넣으세요. 어떤 것이 필요합니까?
Something for your
정신을 집어넣으세요.
mind.
정신을 집어넣으세요.
Something for your
All right. Here we go. We're going to get the show started. I'm going to bring my guest in and introduce him. My guest is none other than Foster Quarter. Let's bring him on. Hey, Foster, welcome to the show, man. I'm glad to have you back.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. No, go ahead. I cut you off.
No, I was just going to say it was fun last time talking with you. I really like your show.
Man, it was exciting, man. We got a lot of good feedback from it. And that's why, when we talked the other day and you shared some video footage with me, I was super excited to bring you back because there was that's a strange sound. There was an interesting point of view that you brought up that we'll bring back up today. And just so we don't keep it as a cliffhanger for now, I'm going to play the video that you shared with me. So it'll set the tone for our discussion and it'll give the audience an opportunity to understand what I'm talking about. Let's check it out.
To go to Vietnam was, I was hogtied. Me, my brother.
Let's start that over.
My
Here
name
we go.
is Foster Quarter, and Vietnam saved my life. November the 11th, Veterans Day, this year will be the 52nd anniversary to the day that I was released from Vietnam. I forged my birth certificate at the age of 15 to get away from the street gang on the south side of Chicago. And that's why I say Vietnam saved my life, because 95% of the Black men who grew up in my neighborhood today are either dead, incarcerated, or paralyzed from gang violence. Southside Chicago was infested with street gangs and gang violence, and the Blackstone Rangers was the gang that I was part of. But what caused me to forge my birth certificate to go to Vietnam was I was hogtied, me, my brother, and 5 other guys with our hands behind our back, tied to our feet, and in a room that was, you have to imagine it, red carpet, black walls, and 20 grown men beat us for about 4 hours. I had already decided that I needed to get away, but that was the last straw. And going to Vietnam was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. I recommend to young men, choose the military. Don't buy that lie. They say, oh, I don't want to go to war. I don't want to go to war. I don't want to go to military. Well, you're in a war right now, and you can't win. You're losing, automatically lose. There's only one path. If you remain or get caught up into gang violence and in the street life, um, it's either you're going to get hurt, shot, paralyzed, or go to jail. I used the GI Bill to go to film school at the Chicago Academy of Fine Arts, and that led me to a lifelong career in Hollywood. My IMDb credits now are at about 150 movies, and when I came to Hollywood, there was no room for African American filmmakers, and but I made a career. Again, I made a choice, and it was what I wanted to do. So I used my photography skills that I had learned in filmmaking at Chicago Academy of Fine Arts, and made a career in Hollywood. And I became the first African American to be head of film and video production at Capitol Records. I produced all of the Hammer videos. I worked with Tina Turner, Poison, Great White, Young MC, The Whispers, Bonnie Raitt, about 200 music videos. I was part of that team. I started the first African American owned commercial production company in America. I had 10 directors, from Gordon Parks, Bill Duke, Stan Lathan, Kevin Hooks, Helene Head, minority directors, female and Latino and African American. And I went to Procter & Gamble in New York City and presented to them that they weren't using any African American, Latino, or female directors. That changed everything. Before Blackbird Films, there weren't any at all. Minority directors, any black directors. And so all the people who are making commercials today, they don't know, but they got that opportunity because we started Blackbird Films in 1989, and that changed the game.
Wow. Nice. Man, that's a lot of history, right there. That's a whole show right there, man. In under 5 minutes, man. That's an amazing history. You guys got to make sure that some of you are listening to the podcast on one of the outlets like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and what have you. And that's great, man. Love to have that audience. But I would love for you guys to make sure that you tune in to see the video that we just saw, so you can get the full scope of that video. The audio does enough, but the video that we just saw here is great. So you can catch this episode on Watch TV. It'll be there on Watch TV. You can download On Watch TV on your Roku app or your Amazon Fire Stick, or on Vita TV if you are. Well, Vita TV is here in the States now, man, but they launched in Germany and overseas. So make sure you guys check it out. But yeah, man, getting back to that video, that's an amazing history, man, and that makes you, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, a living legend. Anytime that you can put first in front of anything, the first, that says it all. So I want to, first of all, make sure we give those accolades and say thank you for paving that pathway. And the fact that you're still paving pathways for others is remarkable. So thank you.
So glad I could do it, man. And, when I listened to that video and watch it, I was like, damn, this dude been through some shit, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. And I was thinking, what would I say to someone who is in a city? Because Hollywood, many people around the world dream of Hollywood. They have ideas of Hollywood. They think they'll never ever make it to Hollywood. They want to make it. They have illusions about what Hollywood is, and I recognize my blessings, but what I would like to say is it's not necessarily, Hollywood. That's what you and I, where we live, and it's our occupations. But any dream, any hope that any young person has, and old people too, but as far as young people go, it doesn't have to be Hollywood and film and television and stuff. It could be, wanting to be a scientist, a rocket scientist, wanting to be a welder, wanting to be a race car driver, wanting to be whatever your career path is. The thing is, have that dream.
Yeah.
Eat that dream, drink that dream, live that dream, be that dream. The biggest crime or deterrent that destroys a lot of lives is people don't have dreams. They think that thing that they want, that thing inside of them, that thing in their mind, that thing in their gut is just unreachable, but because they don't see the path. And that's the trick. See, that's the trick to keep you from getting and achieving that dream is they take away your hope.
Oh,
In most of the inner cities. And again, I mean, I'm a Black elder, so I'm partial to speaking to young Black men because I've seen the genocide and not a lot of people care. They rather lock up a young Black person. But when I speak, I'm not just speaking to Black. I care about Black because nobody does, and being an elder, I feel like I have to share my experience and my knowledge. And through my walk, I've seen that, the young African American males in America are expendable. Nobody cares. When you see the Trayvon Martins, just walking home and you see just the things that have happened over the years, there's not a lot of sympathy. Lately it has been, but I speak to all the youth. I'm saying that whether you're Latino or Asian, German or French, or doesn't matter, Jewish, Palestinian, I don't care. If you're a young person, you have to have dreams and you have to believe that you can achieve and you can do better. Don't look for the road to be laid out in front of you and make it easy, because that's just not the circumstances that most of us are born into. It's the hard
absolutely.
work.
Absolutely, man. I'll add to that, also, if, for young folks that are, on a path and they do have a dream, but somehow that dream gets deterred, right? Deterred for a moment. It's okay if that dream is deterred, because a dream deferred can still be a dream. And I'll speak to this point. And then I want to talk about this statement that inspired me to have this episode.
Sure.
For my career, I'm a career educator, and folks in the audience, shout out to all you guys around the world, man. We have listeners now in 90 countries, man, 90 plus countries. So shout out to everybody around the world, because he was speaking to you, all of you. Career educator, man. High school social science history teacher and university professor, and that's been my gig. And I was heavily involved in advocating for teachers' rights with teachers unions, et cetera, and did lots of speeches throughout the state, across the country, advocating for teachers' rights. Okay. But I've always been a creative. As a child, I dreamed and I imagined and I wrote stories, and I always had multiple stories entered in these competitions. And so that was my escape from poverty, my escape from the four walls, or these walls that I felt where I lived, in Detroit. I would write my way out. And it was always a passion. Life happens, family happens, and you go to work. Um, at one point, though, after about, I don't know, 10 years or so, 15 years or so, yeah, it was more like, yeah, 12, just 10, 15 years, give or take. I was at downtown Los Angeles at the Bonaventure Hotel, getting ready to do a speech for teachers union in the morning. And I was in the room the night before with my wife, and I told her, I said, I just had the feeling that this was going to be the last, physical presence that I had for the moment in that realm of the serious political, I've done, political campaigns, all this type of stuff, marches and the whole nine in politics. But I told her, I said, babe, I think I'm done for now. This is gonna be it. I said, I want to get back into my creative side. I've always had this dream, right? You talked about a dream. Always had this dream of being a creative. I want to tell stories. I want to, do stand-up comedy. And she said, "You're not funny." That was that was real funny. I thought I was. I knew how to deliver a joke. I got it. But I'm like, thanks for the support. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you're not funny, right? So, but I said, no, I think this is it. So went and did the speech and all of that, whatnot. And the next day, I started resigning, and I started, let me write my resignation letters. And I ended up writing, didn't realize I had 9 high level positions within the union throughout the state and the nation. As I'm writing these letters, I said, oh man, I had this position, that it didn't seem like it, but they all coincided. Right. And so from that point being, I decided at that point, stand-up comedy. Went and did, stand-up comedy with one of my guys who passed on, T. Smith. He wrote for the show The Proud Family. Did some stand-up comedy shows, successful. Had an opportunity to acquire this television channel, On Watch TV, and that was another opportunity for an outlet, not just for me, but for other creatives that had dreams, to make dreams possible for folks like you said who may not think they have an opportunity to be in Hollywood or want to be in Hollywood or do that type of thing. And then went on to say, man, well, if I got a TV channel, I should know something about cameras, all right? I should know something. So enrolled in the NYU Film School, and then just started doing some different shows. And when I met you, man, and I have to say, I'm very appreciative for you, because I was, I wasn't anybody in the industry, but when I had the opportunity and met you and reached out, you said, hey man, I got you, whatever you need, right? And you came and met me at the spot and helped me out with lightings and checked out my camera and gave me some encouraging words, and here we are still rolling. So, that dream deferred is here. And although I'm still in education and teach, this is something I'm very passionate about. And so I definitely resonate with that idea of you got to have a dream. This is something from childhood. Didn't give up on it. It was just, marinating in the background. And sometimes it's all about timing.
And
Speaking of, go ahead.
no, you go.
I was going to say, speaking of timing, I want to talk about this one particular statement that you made in the video that we started the show off with, regarding the military, because it is Veterans Day, and that's why we're here again. Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans. Thank you for your service. You guys can see it scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Absolutely, thank you for your service. Also, Mr. Foster Corder, thank you as well. My father, my brothers, my cousins. There's a lot of folks that want to be a part of this show, and some folks that have contributed some questions we'll ask later. But all the questions came from a statement that you made that I found really profound. And that statement was, you said, for young men, and I'm going to contextualize it to young Black men in particular, choose the military. And when I heard that statement, it blew me away, because I had never, and people say never. No, I never heard that statement from an African, I'll say a respected African-American period, because traditionally and culturally, that's not a statement that you would hear in our culture. For a lot of people and for a lot of reasons, whether it's historic because of racism and this idea that the country has done us wrong. And if we somehow serve this country in the military, we're selling out our history, our culture, our race, or somehow that's not a place for us to be.
Right.
But the approach that you took, and you said this, for folks that are using this as a reason, as far as I'm not going to war, you said you're already in a war.
That's great.
You're already in a war. And
You
the
lose.
war, yeah, you're losing. And that
Yeah.
that war, it has no positive outcome. There's no positive outcome.
No. You
This idea of choosing the military, man, speak on it. Go ahead.
No, it's like there's genocide happening for the last 40 years of young African American men being disposable. The jails are full of them. The cemeteries are full of them. The amputees and the wheelchairs are full of them. The genocide is because what did Malcolm X said? We've been bamboozled, hoodwinked,
Yeah.
run
Yeah.
amok, run astray, right? Because the patriotism got taken away from us. The whole concept of patriotism, and there's a number of reasons. When you're going from slavery to the modern times, when I was coming up to the whole Black Panther Party, we were always fighting against the system. The government, the establishment, law enforcement were always in some sort of way the enemy. And to put it back in the Dolomite terms, the man,
Right,
fighting against the
right.
man.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
when I look at my life and I look at this country and the just all the hundreds of thousands of brilliant minds who there's no telling what talents have been squashed. And as you said, a dream, what was your comment? A dream.
I said a dream deterred and then deferred.
Yeah. It's like, see, and again, it comes back down to two things: education and hope. You see, and see, it becomes generational. The older thugs, criminals, gang members, their lives are destroyed. They are sad with their lives. They're disappointed, and they want to suck the young people into that because they don't have any futures. So they don't want you to have a future. What I think the young men and women should be thinking about is not themselves, but their moms.
Yeah.
Think about your mom. Don't you want to be proud? Don't you want your mom to be proud of you? You don't want your mom to have to come to court. You don't want your mom to have to be trying to get bail money. You don't want your mom going to the cemetery. You don't want your mom coming down to the morgue to identify your body. You want your mom to be proud of her son who got educated, who had a family, who is a father, who is a mother, who has a career, who did something with their lives, and you can do something for your mom. My mother was a major influence in my life, and that was one of the reasons that I chose to run as fast as I could and figure out a way to get away from the neighborhood that was a sewer because it was infested with gang violence on the south side of Chicago. My mom worked 4 jobs to keep us in Catholic school and in a nice apartment, and she was one of the first to get a car in our neighborhood because we were poor. Everybody was poor, and I saw how hard my mom was working, and the neighborhood. And fortunately, she sent us to Catholic school, so I was able to, um, be educated enough
Right.
to look at the situation truthfully and have a perspective. And I didn't see a future um, in gang violence, and so I wanted to change my life. So I think that people don't understand that if you go to the military, you one and again, I don't want to generalize and make everybody seem like they're the same and say black people are poor, Latin people are poor, and what have you. But the the reality is, you can get an education. Number one. Number two, you can change your life. You can get service schools. When you come out, you can use the GI Bill and go to school. The military has the best technology. They have the cutting edge technology where you can learn the skills that when you come out, you are at the top of the food chain in terms of hiring. The all of the computer stuff, all of the AI, all of the everything, aerodynamics, Navy, Army, I don't know, Air Force, Space Force, whatever it is you choose, they have the top of the line technology. And we have to get out of this mindset of um, that's not an option, because it's a wonderful option. And most young people don't want to hear it, but when you are 17, 18, 19, 20, you have no clue of what your future holds and what you want to do in life. And some do. Some are fortunate enough to get that memo early, but for the most part, when we look at the police cars are full, we look at the jails are full, we look at the cemeteries are full. um yeah, crime is just rampant. When you see these young people go running into flash mobbing stores, to grab purses and all of this little short term couple of dollars you're going to make, and most likely you're going to get busted because they're arresting them like crazy in the Los Angeles area. I know that, and in San Francisco. So it's that temporary hustle, the drug sales on the corner, running from
Yeah.
the police, running, waiting on somebody to shoot you over, $50 worth of drugs or $10 worth of drugs. And the hate for another kid, another young person who you don't even know,
Yeah.
and and you're killing your own, and you guys are fighting over turf that you don't even own. Um, Again, get out of the neighborhood. They have this term of our turf. Fighting for our turf. Don't come over here doing. Well,
Yeah.
that's only because you haven't gotten past the little 4 to 6 or 8 blocks of your neighborhood. If you really got the memo, you'd understand that the world is your hood. The
Yeah.
Germany, France, the whole wide world is your hood. And that is the best education in the world, is travel. And if you only get in the car, in the back seat of your buddy's car, and y'all ride around in 40 ounce and somebody's telling you to shoot out a car window, that's not the world. You're not giving your life a chance. And that's what I would like to inspire the young people to do, is give themselves.
Absolutely.
Because when I say Vietnam saved my life, it's the absolute truth. I'm telling you, 95% of the young men that grew up in my neighborhood are dead or
Yeah.
incarcerated. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
or cripple, or homeless and nuts. It's frightening. And as I look back, it's genocide, and it's just getting worse and worse. Nobody cares. That's the thing. They'll spend all of this money on jails and
Yeah.
more police cars and all of these things, and it's just a vicious cycle. And there's no other word other than genocide, that I can think of it. And when Father's Day passed, I was looking and thinking about how many of these young men won't be fathers because, like you just said to me, thank you for your service, right?
Right.
People say that, all the time. And I'll be honest with you. Yeah. Well, and I say thank you for it. But what it does for me and to me is it makes me think about the guys who didn't make it.
Yeah.
The guys who you're saying thank you for your service, and you don't know the people we really all want to thank are the guys who died in the mud
Yeah.
and died
Yeah.
in the and died in the fields, having their head shot off, their arm shot off, blown up, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. They never got a chance to have a family. They never got a chance to, you know, uh, have a career. They never had a chance to see their moms again. That's the shit that I think about when
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
say, thank you for your service, because I feel so blessed, and that's part of my inspiration is is making sure that I took advantage of the blessing of coming home from the war. See, and on that note, let me say this, because that's the whole a big part of the fear that gets dropped into young African American youth, male and female. It's like, oh, I don't want to be in a war. And as you said, I said, you're in a war now, and you can't
Yeah.
win. There's
Yeah.
you won't find one uh, Fortune 500 company or super successful corporation that the head of it says, yeah, I got my start in street gang. There's no future in
Right.
that shit.
Right.
You
Yeah.
have
You're right. You're right.
to have
Absolutely right. No.
something else and come from someplace else. So the thing though, today, see, it's not war aren't wars aren't like Vietnam anymore. Now we had the Gulf War and the stuff that happened just not too many years ago, but all that's 20 years ago at this point. But it's not, it's the technological wars now.
Right. Yeah.
It's button, it's
Different.
computers, it's
Much different.
satellites, it's drones. Yeah. It's not the whole foot war thing anymore, like we had to do. So you couldn't pick a better time to go into the military, but it's about, cutting off the genocide and giving yourself a chance, man, because when you find yourself handcuffed doing a perp walk in the back of a police car, um,
Yeah.
man, if that
Yeah.
happens to you one time, get the memo, change your mind, change your life. Think about your mama, think about your brothers, sisters, because it's
That's
a,
real.
you
That's
know,
real.
it's
That's
no
that.
hope. It's no hope.
That's
And somebody's got to speak on it. Like you said, people have told me exactly what you said. It's the two things that I said in that video is that they've never heard before. One is Vietnam saved my life. They've never heard anybody say that, but
right.
it's my truth, and two, they haven't heard any, African American male saying to the young people, go to the military. And
Right.
and let's be realistic, okay? Now
Oh yeah.
again, there's a lot of young people, male and female, who have the wherewithal and and go to college, and go and get themselves an education. But a lot of us, and not just Black, I'm speaking of Latinos and Asians and everyone um, that is on a path of nowhere, a path that's going to take you to the cemetery or to incarceration. Most of them, male and female, there's a problem in the family. You know, there's not a father possibly in the home, or at any rate, if there is a father in the home, there's a parenting issue, you know,
Right.
because there's no way on God's green earth that you can tell me that you are a responsible parent and you have a 14-year-old who is outside at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you get a call from the police that he's riding around with a 22-year-old guy, 19-year-old guy, a 17-year-old guy, and they had 2 guns in the car and
Right.
beer. And where's your baby at? You don't know, you don't have a sign on the door that tells your kid,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you don't come in this house before dark, you're gonna have a problem, you know.
That's right. Yeah.
And so the parenting thing is a major part of the problem. So what I say is, you know, if young people aren't getting taught respect, you're gonna get the respect in another way. You're gonna get it during the perp walk. You're gonna get it. You're gonna be taught respect in a way that is detrimental to you.
Yeah.
So the military, you know, when I went to the service, I had a chip on my shoulder that wouldn't wait. I hated Whitey. I hated honkies. All of that negative talk, all of that just negative thoughts that
Right.
I had been put on me by these older convicts and thugs and scum, just like, and again, I'm saying this about these the Black inner city, but that same concept of hate and that's what it is. Hate is taught to young white kids with when you talk to these Klan, you know, when they talking that this white supremacy stuff, and when you talking to the Latinos who get, you know, sucked into the M13s or 18s or whatever it is, and the Asians get kind of whatever the negative force in the communities are, they get sucked into that, and because it's education and lack of hope. You know,
Right.
most of these young people, they want to belong to something. That's how you get sucked into the gangs.
That's it.
You know, in some neighborhoods like it was ours, you didn't have no choice if you wanted to live around there. But again, you do have a choice with the military. So you can sign up for the military and none of your homeboys, none of your thug friends got to even know about it. You know, you know, that's a choice. You do that on your own, again, for your mama, for your family. And then one day, you gone. And they were like, what happened to, you know, Jimmy, Bob, Hector, Jose, da,
Yeah.
da, da.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
happened to him? It's like, and somebody say, oh man, he went into the Navy, he went into the Army, he went into the Air Force. And now next thing you know, 1, you're gonna get taught respect. 2, you're gonna see the world. 3, you're going to get educated. 4, you're gonna meet people and see things that you had no idea existed. And when you
Absolutely.
and when and 9 times out of 10, because you're gonna do 2, 3, 4 years, at least, when you come back, most of them people that you left, they ain't gonna be there no more. You know
True
what?
story. True story, man. True. You
Yeah,
know,
in the
a lot of
cemetery.
a lot of what you spoke about, man, it's sitting here resonating with me because, you know, and as I have both of our photos up on the screen, you know, from our time in the Navy at different points in our life, you know, I was in a situation just like you described, homeless as a teenager in high school, South Central LA,
Mm,
graduated got accepted to college, but didn't have the money to go, just to graduate and be homeless even
Mhm.
more, waiting for that dream, waiting for that opportunity for college, but being so poor with all this temptation around, and almost made a really bad choice to sell drugs, which was something I completely disagree with, because it affected my family's life and my community in ways that were detrimental to me, emotionally, socially, and the whole nine. And I was glad the light clicked on. The light clicked on for me, and I left the drug house where I was about to make this decision. I thought, what's my grandmother going to think? What are all these people that poured into me? What are they going to think? Because the headline's not going to say, here's this kid who was, a good kid and looked after his baby sister and his mom, and came to Los Angeles from Detroit, and went to school and dodged all these horrors of the street, didn't join gangs. I had been shot at and chased, but didn't join this, and wasn't a bad kid, graduated and made it through almost to college. It's not going to say that. It's going to say another inner city black kid, perp walk, get him out of here. Right. And I happened to just walk out and walk down 88th Street, Broadway, and ended up on Florence in Vermont, and saw a recruiting station. And as much as I was one of those kids, I'm bring up a graphic in a minute that influenced me. I was one of those kids that was anti-military. I didn't like the establishment. I thought that it was a detriment to my community, historically speaking.
Right. You had
But
been
but
about
yeah, but at that point, it was like, man, that's what was my choice. It was right there, clear as day. That station burned down in the LA riots, though. But this recruiter station, I go in and just tell the guy, hey, don't tell me any lies about I'm gonna be rich and famous and then meet all these women and travel, whatever. Just
Mm.
how soon can you get me off the streets? I
Mhm.
got I got to get out of here. How soon? He said, any felon? No, no felonies, man. I haven't been in trouble a day in my life. How soon can you get me off the streets? He said, well, if everything works out, 10 days. I
Mm.
said, let's do it. And 10 days from that day, I was out. Didn't get a chance to tell friends or people that I knew, barely my mom and my sister. And I felt bad that I was leaving them, but I had to save me to save them. You know what I mean? And so that
Absolutely.
was my trek out. Man, I wanna continue this conversation for sure, but we need to take a quick break, and we're gonna come back, and I want to pick up upon more of this conversation, but also, the transition that you made after the military. And again, happy Veterans Day to everybody. Shout out to all you folks around the world that are listeners, longtime listeners in all these 90 countries. This is Let's Chew the Gum, the podcast where we talk about everything from A to Z. Again, be sure to download the On Watch TV app on your Roku, Amazon Fire TV stick, or listen to the podcast like many of you are now. It's available wherever major podcasts are downloaded: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Podbean, you name it. We thank you so very, very much. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that sponsorship from On Watch TV. Again, be sure to check out On Watch TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Vita TV, and pretty soon on a few other platforms worldwide. Um, I want to come back to this conversation again, man. Thank you so much for those messages that you sent out to our young people. I'm keeping our pictures up. I want to ask you about this in a minute, but the message you're giving out to young people and older folks alike, man, you made some great points. Now, I especially like the point about you saying that there are a lot of, older individuals who have had their time and things didn't work out the way they wanted to. And so now they're influencing other folks to say, hey, it didn't work for me, it won't work for you. And I've heard that type of rhetoric, and I don't appreciate it either. It's just like when I was deciding to go to college and get advanced degrees, and folks would say, oh man, I went to school, it didn't work for me, so it's not gonna work for you. And I would say, fool, because you didn't finish, right? No, because a lot of times for different reasons, no disrespect to anybody, but sometimes folks that are going through, maybe you didn't follow through, right? If you went to college and you didn't finish your program, and then you got student loans and you didn't finish, well, you probably can't pay them off. You didn't have an outlet, you didn't have a good experience, but that doesn't mean it's going to be the same for everybody. And that's the same with the point that you made about the military. But yeah, in these photos right here, I don't know how old you are in your photo. I imagine that this is like
That's
your
a picture of you, sir. I didn't even realize, and now I'm remembering that you had told me that you were in the military a while back when we first met, and
right.
it hadn't even dawned on me because I was so impressed with all the other stuff you've been doing in life.
Right.
And we weren't on that wavelength in that conversation,
That's
at
right.
that time and during that time. But yeah, you're a good looking sailor there, fella.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I
How
think
old
I
were
was,
you?
man, let me think. I must have been 20.
20?
20.
Yeah, I was 16 in that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
20.
I turned 16
Maybe,
and
no, I apologize. I'm 19. I'm 19. Close to 20. I'm 19.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
said you're 16.
yeah. And
Yeah.
because I was 15 when I started forging my birth certificate, and
Right.
had to take it to the recruiter and had to make it first, and then take it to the recruiter and pass it. And then they made me take the GED because I was a freshman in high school.
Right.
I had to take the GED, and then I got 3.8 out of the 4.0, and I got accepted and choose a service school. And then it was the next time that they had the enlistment thing. When
Right.
they don't go away, they don't go. Well, now who knows how it is, but back then it was like once a month or 2 months or something, and the recruiters had it set up so they always were trying to make their quota, so they didn't want everybody to go at the same time. Then they do boom, 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 boom. So I'm old now. I can't remember all of the details, but I know by the time I went in, I was 16, and then they busted me, and then my mother had to sign a waiver, and then that first year I ended up turning 17 before I went overseas. So
Yeah, if you guys didn't catch that story, man, you gotta go in the archives on Let's Chew the Gum. I think we did a audio only podcast, and where you shared that story, and it was amazing. That was a great story. You guys go check that one out. I think we did that one last Veterans Day, and
Memorial Day, I think it was.
oh, was it Memorial Day? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think you're
missed
right. Yeah, I think you're right.
And I remember we were talking about Memorial Day. Yeah, that was good. You were very good. So thank you so much for having me, man.
Absolutely. It was Memorial Day.
So you were asking, it was a point you asked me to elaborate on, and I forgot
Well,
what it was.
that's okay. We'll get to it. We'll bring it this way. We'll elaborate on some of these. I have some folks, man, some vets that are listeners of the show, and some colleagues of mine. They submitted some questions that they wanted to have answered or addressed on the show, and so there's 3 on here that I picked, that I pulled, and actually some have been coming in on my cell phone while we were shooting the show. So if you guys saw me looking down, I'm like, wait a minute, let me see what we can get on here. So I want to pose these questions to you and folks at home. You can see these. The first question, and thank you to all these are from vets that have served. Well, that's redundant. All vets that have served, right? But these are all from vets that I know. So the first question is, what advantages do you believe military service provides Black men that they can leverage through their lifetime? Let me take that one because I think you kind of answered that. You talked about education. You talked about the fact of coming out and being on sort of the pick of the or having the first pick at these jobs and careers and technology, et cetera, right? And as that's ever changing, the military is always on the cutting edge of that. And so there's that, a colleague of mine was also mentioning the fact of, home loans, excellent mortgage rates, things of that nature, leadership capabilities, and experience. I don't know what that is that's trying to come in here, but they
That
can't get it.
was
We don't let 'em.
I think that somehow that's my phone, but because I'm on this MacBook,
Oh, okay.
it's going over to, and I don't know how to turn it off right now.
Oh,
So
okay. It's all good. It's
about
all
that.
good. There's definitely some advantages that Black men and men in general can leverage throughout their lifetime. Let's go to
Absolutely.
let's go to question 2. So this one, I'll let you take this one. This one says, my military experience was great mostly, but there was a lot of racism, discrimination that I felt was used against me and kept me from advancing in what could have been an otherwise fair environment. How do you navigate racism and discrimination in the military?
Um, you put your hands in your back pockets and you grab that belt or your ass and you just lift up and you keep going, because how much racism is it in the back of a police car? How
Yeah.
much racism and discrimination is it in jail? And how much racism and discrimination is it when you running down the alley, with a 45 or a Glock in your hand and some cat is shooting across the fence? What that is um it's deterrence. It is excuses to keep you from achieving your dream. um it- it's like the running a marathon. You can quit after a mile,
Yeah.
because your feet hurt, your back hurts. It's hot outside. It's a long way, 26 miles. A 10K is a long way, but it's keeping your eye on the prize. It's never going to be easy, and
Yeah.
uh, and if you go in thinking that the world wants you to succeed and that you're not by yourself and you're gonna make it to the end of the race, then you can't take an excuse and stop, because there's always going to be things to stop you. And just to quickly digress to something that you said about the people um, that have had bad experiences in their life and their life didn't go the way they try to put that on you, like the older thugs try to suck the young people in. Look at it like this. This guy had a girlfriend and he lost it. This guy was married and his marriage didn't work out. Does that mean you're not going to try to get a girlfriend?
Right.
You're not going to get married? That's his experience. Those are the choices that he made. You have to make your own choices. So there's racism out here, whether you decide to, be a mechanic or, chop wood for a living or work at McDonald's or, be a
Absolutely.
rocket scientist or be a astronaut. Racism, sorry again, racism is built and based in ignorance and hate, because that's somebody else's problem. You have to just overcome it. So that's what I would say to that question is You have to just get past it, ignore it, rise above it, and understand again that's ignorance and hate and
Absolutely.
uneducated people. You know,
Absolutely.
so
No, that's a great that's a great answer, and I don't know if I could have said it better myself, man. It's going to be there, but like I like how you juxtapose the idea of how much racism is in the back of a police car, how much racism is everywhere. So while you're making these excuses as to why that can't be an option for you, you're facing the same thing in situations. Like you said, you're already in the war. And while we're on this topic of racism, you can see scrolling across the bottom for the audience that's watching, man, there's a nonprofit SCORE, Securing Communities of Racial Equity. And with that nonprofit, we're doing great work to eradicate racism in places of whether it's education, institutional racism in schools and civic centers. So it's about bringing education to folks in the community, whether it's through like the recent play that I did, Journey. That's one where we targeted that aspect of our lives that's terrible racism. So if you guys are interested in learning more about SCORE, go and check out the website, SCORE 501c3.org. And we're always looking for folks to come on board, and we come out to the communities, we do whatever it takes and provide the information and resources to help people combat racism, whether you are a victim of it or a perpetrator of it. It's not about where you are, it's about where we can go together. So that's a good one, man. All right, here's a good question. They're all good, man. Question 3 says, what experiences challenged you most as an African American service member? What experiences challenged you most as an African American service member? You can go first, or I can go first. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you go first.
Oh, okay. So I would say the experience that challenged me the most probably was well, it challenged me the most, but it was also one of the easiest ones for me to navigate, and that was this idea of racism and discrimination. It challenged me because I had to have the wherewithal to understand what it was and to deal with it in situations when I didn't want to. Right? It was like, man, is this really necessary? Are we doing this again? I say it was one of the easiest ones for me to navigate because I grew up in a time in Detroit where there was a lot of racism going on, on the heels of the Watts riot in LA and then the riots in Detroit in the late 60s. I'm living in that environment. So I was bused to schools outside of my neighborhood. And for those that don't know what busing is, that's when they were deciding, the government was deciding to integrate schools. And so they took students of color, black students in most places and brown students in others, and sent you to schools in predominantly white neighborhoods. And I actually tell this story as a part of a stand-up comedy because I've turned it into humor. I thought when we went to this school on the bus that they were having a parade for us because everybody's cheering and waving on the streets and waving signs. I thought they were happy to see us, and pretty soon I realized they weren't cheering happy thoughts. Right? They were kind of go home inward, and we don't want you here, and throwing up swastika signs and Nazi salutes and that type of thing. So throwing rocks at the bus. Since we went into schools that way and coming out, and I'm just 8 years old, a third grader. So I had experienced that. I had navigated that. I had been educated in that realm. And so I kind of understood and fortunately had enough experiences to realize that that's not everybody. Not everybody of that particular color is that way. So that was challenging. By the time I'm in the military facing that, I'm like, been there, done that. Okay, I know how to deal with it. And even throughout my career, I would say the same thing. I've been in some situations where there's racism, but now I'm glad that I'm the person that's at the forefront facing it because I know how to mitigate that situation to sort of make a bridge and make a pathway and do what needs to be done to eradicate it. How about you?
Right. Well, I'll be brief with my answer because if anybody wants to hear the whole story, they can do what you said. Listen to the earlier show that we did on Memorial Day, but the experience that challenged me the most as an African American service member was the same experience that literally changed my life and made my life better and turned me around. as a young man to understand my worth and my value and how fortunate I was, instead of being an ignorant young thug with carrying on in my life the hate that had been instilled in me in the ghetto. A sergeant from Alabama came in at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was on watch all by myself in the middle of nowhere at the gate. And he was pissy drunk, and he came in and he sat on the desk and he called me a stupid nigger. He said, Corey, you a stupid nigger, you know. And after I got through my shock and not wanting to shoot him, again, because I'm from the south side of Chicago, I know zip guns and all this stuff, and I got a 45 automatic, and I was carrying hate, you know. It was hunky, redneck, uh, you know, whitey, all that negative old bullshit that is just hate, just like fucking Klan people. It's just hate, right? But that's what had been instilled in me in the ghetto, other than my mom's side. My mom, you know, going to Catholic school. So anyway, he eventually got up and went into the barracks, and I sat there steaming, and I really thought about it, you know. See, because what he said was, I was a stupid nigger because I was flunking out. And he said you had to be a little smart in order to get here, because this was I was going to the Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island, and that was an elite school, and that's where you learn navigation, how to read the stars and oceanography and all this stuff. And I had a job at the top of the boat. I steered the ship. I plotted courses. That's the school I was going to. It was the Naval War College, so I was going to school with officers, and because it was navigation, and all the officers, these are all college graduates and all this.
Right.
But I was flunking out. But I got to school because I went in for photography. But after I got in, they said, "Oh, the photography school is a year," and you went in. I went in on a special program the government had during Vietnam times, was 2 years, because the Navy is 4 years. So anyway, I was flunking out because I had a chip on my shoulder, and I didn't want to learn this shit. I wanted to learn photography. And he said, you know, you think they want you here? You know, look around. You the only one of y'all here. It was like class of like 50 or something. And
Right.
he said, you the only one of y'all here, and you think they want you here? And you flunking out. You doing exactly what they want you to do. You know, he said, if you want to really piss them off, you get your shit together and pass some classes. But you ain't gonna do that because you're a stupid nigger. And I sat there after he left, and after I got finished being angry, and the south side of Chicago got off of me, and my mom started talking to me, I realized he was right. You know, fuck what he called me. I was stupid because I wasn't taking advantage of this opportunity, and I knew they didn't want me here. And I was playing into the game. I was getting angry because they didn't want me there,
Right.
instead of getting smart and understanding I'm here. So deal with me, motherfucker.
Right.
You know, I'm here because, you know, I'm good enough to be here. And so I was drinking the hate Kool-Aid, and I had drunk the hate Kool-Aid. And because most of it, like I say, most stuff is based in hate and ignorance, you know, uneducated. And that's all of what I was. I had been taught hate, and I wasn't educated. And here I was in an opportunity to get educated, going to the Naval War College. So I got my shit together, and I finished in the top 5 to 10% in the class, man. And that moment changed my life for the rest of my life. My life hasn't been the same. So
Hard truth, hard truth. Like you said, forget what he called you. The fact of, and you know, that deserves, you know, your young self then, that deserves some credit, man, because it takes a lot of strength to be able to, you know, first of all, get past what he called you, and then realize the opportunity that you have. Because, you know, when I heard it, I was like, oh, he said that, but it started to feel like a motivational challenge to say, hey, wait a minute. you know, and so for you to rise to the occasion and to realize that, you know, that takes a lot. And so I'm glad these types of things are being discussed on this podcast, because, you know, we have a lot of young people, and when I say young people, it's relative. We have a
Mm.
lot of people who, when they're faced with some type of controversy like that, they have not gotten to a point where they've developed the skill set to be able to navigate that. They haven't got to a point where they have the mental fortitude to be able to, first of all, self-reflect, and then to be introspective about, you know, or see themselves through the lens of how someone is seeing them, right? Because they may think they have it all together, but when they're challenged to say, hey, you know what, no, you really aren't all that you think you are, you know,
Mm.
to be able to sit back and process that, and then, you know, work for the better. That's a skill set. And so, you know, everybody listening, you know, get this information out to those young folks that are coming up, because they aren't always receiving this type of information, man. And I see it, you know, working in the schools every day.
I'm
I
sure
don't know
you
if I,
do.
yeah, every day, man. And so, you know, we all got to do our part to make sure we instill them so that they can stand up to those types of challenges.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. So here's one. This is the last question on here. It says, what is something you would have done differently while you served? During that time while you served, what is something you would have done differently, man? I'll go and say, you know, I don't really
Already hit.
think about regrets in life. You know, I think everything I've gone through has been a lesson, and has either, you know, made me stronger, made me better, or has made me look at myself in a way to where I want to change. So, and it still makes me better. But um, I think that some folks may have gotten the wrong perception of me because I was always forward thinking and outlooking. I used to read the autobiography of Malcolm X. You know, at
Mhm.
that I read it a few times, but I was reading it in one of in class. You know, I was an electronics technician, and so again, like you, I was maybe one of 300, and I also finished in the top of my class, right? But I'm
Mhm.
reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. You know, when I'm at the barracks, or, you know, when I was in Virginia, they put us up in hotels, which was nice. They didn't have room. And so when I finish my book, man, I still want to read, you know. So anytime I got a break, just like today, if I'm on a break, I'm reading something, man. So I would carry my book with me, and I left it on my desk when we had a break in class. And I think that because people had a perception of Malcolm X, because most people listen to or know about pre-Mecca Malcolm, right? They don't know about post-Mecca Malcolm, where some of his, like anybody else, he grew and he changed and he understood. He was living with it in his environment, and he had every right to have the ideas that he had, and he courageously spoke about it without apology about what he was experiencing. And that's hard for some people to take, right?
Mhm.
And so people got this perception that I don't know, I was hateful, and that that's all I had was hate, and that I didn't like white folks. And the truth is, at some point, I did not have a liking for white people because of how I said I went to school. You know, just much like you know, rocks being thrown and the N word, and everything I knew was hate, 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 right?
Yes.
But like everybody else, when you learn better, do better. And when I was in the military, that was also the first time when I had an opportunity to
Mhm.
meet other white people who had
Mhm.
different perspectives, and to explore
See,
different
that
cultures, and then have an understanding to where now there's growth. And I don't think people should ever take a snapshot of an individual and think that you know that person because you
that's right.
caught them being human. You caught me being human, okay, right? But that's not who I am.
Yep. Well, I I have two things, I guess, that I would have done differently. One, I wouldn't have never let go of that machine gun and took my
Mhm.
eye off of it, because I had been shooting a 50 caliber machine gun, and I let go of it, and I wasn't paying attention, and it was on a turret, right? And
Right.
fucking thing, the wind blew or something. I bumped, and it spun around like
Oh,
180,
oh,
and red hot barrel hit up against my arm
oh.
and burned the shit out of me.
Yeah, I
Right?
know it did. I know it did. I
So
know it did.
that was number one.
Yeah.
And number two, is I should have wore a condom in the Philippines because
Yeah, yeah.
first case of gonorrhea had me bending
Oh
pipes,
my goodness. Yeah,
and
that's real.
that was a life lesson.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Man,
so
for sure.
you
That
know,
that that is as real as it can get, people. That's as real as it can get.
yeah,
Hey,
because that's yep, when
yes, sir.
when you at war and you get that 3-day pass, that 3-day leave, you going to try to have all of the relaxation
Yep,
that you can find. And at that time, you head to Subic Bay in the
yep.
Philippines and to the bar. So yeah, that was a lesson right there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
I got a question that came in on my phone,
sure.
and then we're gonna move on because I still want to talk about. Hopefully, we have a little more time to talk about some of your current projects and some of the things you've done post military. But it's Veterans Day, so that's what it's about. Maybe we need another show.
Yeah, we do a
We need
different
another
show
show.
to talk
Yeah,
about
we'll do a
Hollywood.
different show. Yeah, we'll save that because we got a lot
Yeah,
of gems for that. So
sure.
so that's a teaser. You guys got to make sure you tune back in because I got a lot to talk about with him about Hollywood, Hollywood,
Yeah.
man. You've been doing it for a while and still doing it. This question that was sent to me, and this is again is by a veteran. He wanted to actually be on the show, but he's actually in the hospital with his friend who is a friend of his who spent 20 years in the Air Force, so he couldn't make it in. But he sent me a question, and he sent a lot, but I'm gonna pick one.
Mhm.
Um, he said, "How do you feel about offering up your life for a country where so much of the population sees you as a black rather than an American?"
Mm, great question. Real short answer. Again, you can't buy into the hype. It's not how other people see me. It's how I see myself.
Yeah,
So again, it's like the racism thing. If you're going to take an excuse, the fact that my mom used to have a saying that speaks right to that. Excuse me, sir.
no problem.
My mom used to say, "Boy, when you first walk into the room, they're gonna assume you're a fool.
Mm,
When you open your mouth, you prove it."
yeah, how about that?
Okay, so it was saying a lot. When you walk in, they ain't gonna give you no respect. But if you start talking and you don't deserve any respect, or you start talking and they see, oh, I was wrong. This ain't who I thought it was. Like you said, you can't pigeonhole people. Then that determines everything. So you can't waste your time or get caught up in how other people see you. You be who you are, and then they will see who you are. You know, um,
Absolutely.
mm,
No, I love that. I love similar to what my mom would say, man. Very in the same vein, man. You know, she said a lot of different things, killing with kindness, for
mhm,
people who, the whole idea they can say whatever they want about you. It's not about what they say, it's about what you do. And all those things, man, were inspiring to me. If somebody seeing me as and a black, that part, a black, one of those, seeing you as a black as opposed to an American. It's beyond, I'm beyond and thankfully beyond the ignorance of other people. And one of the sayings I was telling a young lady who was worried about some girls talking bad, I said, a lion does not go around worrying about the opinions of sheep, you
mm,
know. And so when in that regard, folks that are stuck in an ignorant space, No, those are all deterrents, man. People have to stay focused. So I'm talking to the audience out there, man. You got to stay focused on your dream, on your mission. You can't be deterred again by what other people think, what people say. A lot of those people are victims of their own upbringing. Everybody was brought up into it in a certain way, in a certain place, and that's not much that you can do about where someone was. But I'll tell you this, man. In my experience, when I've dealt with racism or people that way, and it came from an experience in the military. I'll end it on this and let you get some last comments as well. When I was in the military, I got invited to go out with a bunch of dudes who happened to be all white. I had one guy in my company who lived off base, and I was ready to get off base. He said, "Man, you want to come over for spend the night? We're gonna hang out. We get some beers and listen to some music, and and I like rock music, and that's what they were listening to." I said, "Oh man, yeah." So we walked to the car. And in the car, in the back seat, is the what are those, like the bench seats? 3 white dudes already in the back, and 2 more getting in the front. And I'm like, oh, what? Wait a minute, we're going off in Florida somewhere. I haven't been off base. Wait a minute. But something told me, go ahead, get in the car. So I get in the car and we roll, and I'm a little uncomfortable. I never ever been around white people like that in my life, being from Detroit, where I live. Long story short, we ended up having a great time, man. Music, just having a good time. It was a great experience for me, seeing individuals from a different culture in a different way, and I was appreciating it. But one of the guys called me a nigger. And being out of Detroit, the first thing I'm like, what? And all the guys were like, hey, why'd you call him that, man? Why would you say that?
Right.
He's like, what? Say what? What do you mean? What's wrong? What you mean what's wrong? You can't be saying that. Well, I didn't know it was wrong. And I'm like, yeah, right. He said, no, man, I promise I didn't know it was wrong. He said, where I'm from, in this small town south of Houston, he said, in my town, they call us crackers. Black people call us cracker, and we call them nigger. And I thought, oh, okay, whatever. So the night goes on, and I'm still not really buying his story. But a week, and I may have told this story on the show before, but a week later, something happened with some cab driver giving me some crap about something. I can't even remember. But I remember telling my one friend because now I moved off base and I live in an apartment. I remember telling my one friend about it because the cab driver was calling up his cab friends and whatnot. And my friend called the guy. I don't know who he called. I don't know who he called, but I know he called some guys. And the first one who showed up to protect me with shotgun in his pickup truck was the guy who had called me nigger. And he proved to me that he really didn't know that it was wrong. He was a real solid dude and had been up to after that point. And what it taught me was, when you're from a particular place and you were a certain way, you only know what you know.
That's
You
right.
only know what you know. You only know what you've been taught. And I'm like, okay, cool. But once now you know that's wrong. If you now know and you continue, or you delve into that area where you're wrong, now you're making a choice. And that's different. And so I've been able to really forgive a lot of people. And when it comes to racism in that regard, okay, that's how you coming at me. Okay, well, let's have this conversation. Let's talk about this. Let me hip you to this game. Let's have this interaction. Now we're on a different level. We start from zero. Now what choice do you make now? So now when you do it, it's a choice. And so I can really differentiate. So, that relieves me of a lot of the stress and strain about, racism. And this is not about racism. It's about Military Veterans Day, but we've had a full conversation, I think, about many aspects of why people talk about, or why people reacted, including myself, to your statement that spawned this show of Black man urges young men to choose the military. It's something that we don't hear quite a bit, but I really appreciate the comment. And even with all the wisdom that I've been able to attain in my life, it gave me a different perspective and allowed me to even think back on instances throughout my life with individuals and saying, man, well, that cat was wrong about that. Or man, maybe we've been thinking wrong about this. And hopefully it gives our audience members who are listening, and in particular, African Americans or anybody, it gives them a different perspective to say, maybe I can rethink some of the old ways that I was taught. Maybe I can rethink some of the rhetoric. Maybe I've come to a point and I've heard this dialogue, and now I know better. And what I say from this point on, now I'm making a choice. It won't be out of ignorance. So,
That's
man,
right.
I'm thanking you for that statement, for that video that you showed at the beginning. I have so much Hollywood stuff loaded up, man. We're about a minute, hour and 20 in, which is
All
cool,
right.
man. But you
We'll do
guys
it
have got
again,
to know,
sir.
yeah, yeah, we'll do it again. But the audience, you guys have got to know this is not where this story ends for my man Foster Quarter, man. If you can go Google him. You guys like to Google him and get ready to go scroll pages and pages and pages about his credits in the industry and talk to anybody out there, and you'll get a full story. We got to have you back, man. Before we go though, any last things you want to leave with the audience?
Yeah, it's reject hate, no matter whether you're young or old, black or white, whatever nationality you are. Reject hate, promote and project love, because if you put it out, you get it back. One of my favorite sayings is karma is like putting money in the bank. If you don't put nothing in there, when you need something, you can't get nothing. So what you put out there, and it's tried, it's, people say it all the time, but you reap what you sow, and what you put out into the universe comes back to you. That's one of the things I really, really, really believe in. Is I've overcome a lot of things in my life, and it's because I've tried to live my life a certain way of being not good, but it's that golden rule, man. It's you have to treat people like you want to be treated. It's like when I see a old lady or a lady period or whatever trying to navigate something and trying to do something. A lot of people just keep going, keep walking. I stop to help because that's somebody's mama or
Absolutely.
somebody's daughter, and
Absolutely.
I would want, if my mom was having to carry this stuff over to I would hope that somebody would have the wherewithal and to try to help her out,
Yeah.
So I know that, and we all know that, but yet we will keep walking past and let her deal with it, let her, don't worry about that. It ain't my problem, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is your karma. That is your universe. That is what has gotten me through all of my trying times, is the universe brought back something when, from every kind of way. With my when I had cancer, when I had to have spine surgeries, when I was tied up on the floor in Chicago and 20 guys beating me, when I was in Vietnam, when I got carjacked in LA and 2 guys tried to put me in the trunk of the car, pistol whipping me and stuff. And, when the things, when my first wife broke my heart, when all of the things, that come to us in life, what makes that difference between you and somebody else in the same situation and you surviving and they didn't?
Yeah.
It's got to be something in the universe. Is how, when that term, how you living,
Yeah. Yeah.
how you living, that's
Yeah.
real.
It
you know
is.
yeah, it's excuse me, it's like what we're talking about with the kids. If you get up every day and you practicing hate, and you loading a pistol, and you carrying a pistol around, and you riding around with some guy, and y'all shooting out a car. What do you think your future holds? You know, it's coming back. You know, it's
Yes,
coming
it is.
some kind of way, man. So, you know, choose life. You know, choose life. Think about your mama. What they say, what would Jesus do? You know, what would
Right,
your mom?
right.
What would your
Yeah,
mama say?
yeah, yeah,
What
yeah,
would your,
yeah.
you know, and you know, that's it. And like again, parenting is major. So all of you moms, dads, sisters, and brothers, you know, if you have a sibling and you see that their life is going in the wrong direction, urge them, beg them, do whatever you have to do to look at the military option. They have signing bonuses now. They didn't have that when I went.
Oh,
15.
I got a signing bonus. Not like they have today, but I got, yeah, it was nice.
I didn't get that. I just got out the hood, and you know, which was my signing bonus. But
Yeah, I heard that.
yeah, now is a great time, and you know, you have the choice. So if you love somebody, don't watch them, you know, go down that ugly, ugly, ugly road, because
Love it. Love it.
there's nothing at the end of it but, you know, sorrow. And if you can stop someone at 17, 18, 19, 20 from having 40 more years of pain, wow, do it. You know, you have to do it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much, man. Like you said, we've been an hour and something, and thank you for having me. And I appreciate anybody that's listening or watching. If you got anything out of this, then I'm happy. It wasn't my fault. It's Dr. K. And, you know, and if you didn't, it wasn't my fault. It's Dr. K. So,
One way or the other.
yeah.
I'll take all of that, man. I thank you too for being on, man. It's always a great conversation. Some of the best conversations we have on the phone could be great podcast episodes, man. So thank you for that. Looking forward to catching up with you with the next show and on some projects that are coming up. I want to thank all you in the audience all around the world for continuing to be the best part of Let's Chew the Gum. You guys really inspire me to keep going. And in this 8th season, I think we're at about 115 shows. So that's been outstanding. So thank you. Keep on sending those emails. You know, as you guys know, I respond to all the emails personally. There's no bots, there's no AI. That's me all times of the day and night, depending on where you live. So I thank you for the emails. Remember, if you have show topic ideas that you want to have us discuss, or you want to be a guest on the show, you can email us at letschewthegum@gmail.com. I thank you so much, Foster, for being a great guest again. You guys get the message out. You heard the message, man. Choose love. Run from hate. Get away from the hate. And man, I have to say, this idea of choosing the military, not something I grew up thinking about. And even at my age now, I'm like, yeah, that you're already in the war. So choose what's best.
That's
So
right.
I don't care if you're white, black, brown, Puerto Rican, Asian, or any persuasion. We love you. We thank you for being here. So much we thank you for being here. And remember, we always have
Something for your
정신을 집어넣으세요.
mind.
정신을 집어넣으세요.
Something for your